title of today's message, Tugging on Superman's Cape. I know I'm going to get a little personal here. This is a tough Sunday if you happen to live in our valley, but nonetheless, these are the scriptures that we have. Last week, and you may remember, that Jesus has turned his face from Galilee, from the place where he was raised, the language with which he was familiar, the food, the customs, the community, and he turns his face to travel towards Jerusalem to confront the religious authorities with his message that the kingdom of God is breaking in, and everything they were doing was not anymore preparing them to receive that kingdom. So we're on the road. And today is a wonderful teaching about what you need to travel with Jesus. The only thing to do when you happen to have a 18-year-old in your house who's going off to college like we do, she is away, of course, traveling. So what do you do when your 18-year-old is away? You preach about her, of course. And so my daughter, Rachel, is going to attend Loyola University in Chicago. I thought we were going to have the conversation. You know the conversation I'm talking about, right? It's about packing. I thought, as we did when I went to college, that we negotiate the things that you take to college and the things that you leave behind. And we've been trying to tell her, honey, you don't need a whole lot. You really don't need so much when you go to school. I then discovered the evil of a company called Bed, Bath & Beyond. You need to fear this company. It intends you no good at all. And that's because Bed, Bath & Beyond, in their deep wickedness, has introduced a concept called internet buying. That means your child can simply look at a computer screen, point and click, and purchase numerous screen after screen of items. And then they magically appear at the doorstep of the dorm. There's no effort. There's no carrying stuff upstairs like you did at Florida State. There's none of this. You don't earn any of it. And then, of course, then the bill comes to the parents. This is my definition of depravity. So as I was talking to my daughter about, honey, pack light, I went on a trip myself. We've just gotten back from a family trip. And of course, I'll spare you the nuptial packing sermon. Of course, it happens to me when I preach or talk to anybody else about something, it happens to me. Has this ever happened to you? I packed for a 2-week trip, and I packed really disciplined. I'm the guy that's negotiating with the airport representative, the airline representative at the gate, why this bag fits the definition of an overhead bag. Yes, the plane will lop a little bit, but that's not important. Because this fits the definition. I'm that guy. I'm the guy that then gets to where we're going, and the suitcase explodes, and I wonder, why did I need? I packed for the apocalypse. I packed like I was traveling for 6 months. Why do I need all this stuff? And if I'm launching arguments between couples, I am available for pastoring after the service. And so the only mature thing to do when you pack that much, does anybody know? Is you mail half of it home. So it's waiting for you when you get back. Isn't that great? I then come back home and I walk around our house. And in preparation of this sermon, I find a few items that I'd like to share with you. Vintage, beautiful piano lesson guide. This has been in our house for about 20 years. What's the problem with us having this? No one plays the piano in our house at all. I have no idea why this is, but we have to keep this. It's in the family. Then I found this. This is actually out in visible view. Does anybody know what this is? Okay, so did your grandparents really smoke? Do you see how many places there are in this ashtray? Did you use China and smoke that much? Really? Now, here's the other question. This is a pattern. Where's the rest of it? Is it in the 15 boxes that we were told are family heirlooms? I've never opened any of the boxes. They've been closed for 24 years of our married life, but they're important and our kids are going to get them all one day. How about this? If someone gave this to me, I do apologize. Does anybody know what this is? It's actually, the technical name is a hammered dulcimer, because you take a little wood piece. And so someone gave this to me in the hopes of, in my spare time, I'd relax by learning how to play the hammered dulcimer. So I'd like to show you how I'm doing. Feel free to meditate now and relax. That is my competency with this beautiful instrument. Let's see, what else did I find in our house in preparations? Oh, yes. Who has these? Feel free, you'll be on YouTube by this afternoon. Oh my gosh, you're raising your hand. What's the only problem with us having cassette tapes? We don't have a player. And by the way, if anybody really wants Peter, Paul, and Mary, you can so pick this up from the table. I'm thinking about sneaking this one into my daughter's luggage. How creepy is this? Lullabies to snuggle by. Wouldn't she love that her freshman year in college? Let's see, what else do we have here on the table? Oh! What is this? Okay, Jim McVeigh says a back scratcher, which is kind of disturbing. Everybody needs a silver back scratcher. Jim, we know where you were raised. Okay. How often, how many times have we used this instrument in our house? Would you know? Don't raise your hand, Karen. We don't, yeah, okay. I have no idea where this came from. I've got nothing. It doesn't match any pattern. Was it a gift? And by the way, if you gave me this, thank you so much. But I think we use it for food, Jim. Oh, yeah. Does everybody remember this? This was something for the kids one time. There are attachments here at the bottom. We've had this in our house for like 17 years. Is this the American Girl, table? Is this where the doll goes? Do we jump on this? Does this support something? Truth is, I don't have any idea, but we can't give it away because it belongs to the children. My 18-year-old and my 13-year-old daughter really will need this, whatever it is. What did Jesus say that we truly needed in this world? He's on the road. He sends out the 70, not just the 12. In Luke's gospel, there's more. There's 70. He's going from the Galilee to Jerusalem. He's training his followers how to follow him. And he says, what do you need to share the good news, really? I read it, Steve read it like 7 minutes ago. What do you need? Did you hear? The answer is, in good Don Salanti summary fashion, not very much. Not very much. How much of our life energy is spent worrying about things that will not matter at all? much life energy is it to pack this up for another generation that hopefully will never use it? How much life energy for Mr. Crystal Pelican? Beautiful, but maybe not necessary on the road. Jesus said, you don't need very much. He said, you don't pack 2 tunics. Don't worry about where you're going to eat. Don't hop from house to house when you get to a town. Oh, this house is nice. This house is better. Did I tell you this was tugging on Superman's cape in the Vail Valley? Sorry, realtors. Jesus said, go to the first house that invites you, share your peace there, and stay there. And when you're ready, leave and go on to the next house. These people were apprentices. They were practicing. They were not evangelists. They didn't go to seminary. They were not public speakers. These were fishermen and tax collectors, tradesmen. And Jesus says, you don't need all that much to follow me. Matter of fact, I started thinking about what I could take out. Just like when I was on that trip, I could take some stuff out of my suitcase. And I didn't need it. I thought I did, but I didn't. In today's Old Testament reading, Naaman would have a place in the Vail Valley. Naaman is as smart as you are. He's as successful as you are. He is as accomplished as you are. Naaman is the Aramean general who fires the arrow that kills the previous king of Israel. Ahab, one of the most evil kings in Israel's history. Naaman has a complete resume. He also, unfortunately, suffers, did you hear, from leprosy. And a slave girl says, boy, you should go to that healer in Israel. That prophet knows what he's doing. Naaman goes, and he brings a whole division with him, and he brings gold and silver, as if you can purchase healing, and garments, and he goes to Elisha, the man of God, and Elisha says, dude, we have you. Go wash in the Jordan River 7 times, and you'll be healed. Wow. Wouldn't it be that simple? God, I wish it was that simple. What's Naaman's response? Anybody remember? He is so angry, he's spitting. He said, I can wash in the best rivers in the world in Damascus, and you're putting me into a trickle here in the Jordan River. Muddy, rocky, it's uncomfortable. You've got to be insane. And Naaman's staff, who knows him pretty well, says, hey, Naaman, why don't you look me in the eye? You would do far harder than this. Why don't you park your pride for a second and let God do something amazing? The story says that Naaman actually listens. It's one of the few times in the Old Testament that someone actually listened to God speaking to a friend. Naaman washes. What's the last sentence of the reading? His skin was restored like an infant's, even better than what he had before. Naaman had a fair amount of pride that he needed to park. Did I tell you this was tugging on Superman's cape? For some of us, following Jesus is really hard if we think that we know best, if we think we're in control, if we think we're in command. Friends, the good news of the gospel is we're not. We never were. And we never will be. For Naaman, pride had to come out of that suitcase. Paul says it in different ways he closes Galatians. Paul says, I could boast to you all about lots of things. Paul could be in the Vail Valley also, just as successful as you are. Maybe even more. The man who defined Western history. Paul says, I've learned one thing in my life. If I'm going to boast, from now on, I'm only going to boast about Jesus. Can you imagine how hard it would be The next time you're in that conversation, speaking to that person who's telling you how their accomplishments, how hard it is to maybe not talk about myself. Look, I'm ordained. I'm a priest. I can talk about myself all day long. I went to school to learn how to do it expertly. Paul says, it's not about us. It's about Christ. What if our narrative is not supposed to be about us? What if our narrative is supposed to be about Jesus? About God's provision? About the blessings I was speaking to the children about? What if our narrative started to shift and change as we follow Jesus? What would that world look like? How different would it be? Perhaps there's a new language, a new vocabulary, a new way of sharing ourselves in that moment. And you know, in the Vail Valley, that moment is 10 minutes away. Friends, what do you need? What do I need? Really? Jesus said, when you go on the road, don't forget your crystal pelican. It's really important. And whatever this thing is actually supposed to do, I mean, this is really what it's all about. No. Jesus said, I've given you everything you need in the Spirit to go proclaim that the kingdom of God is breaking into this world right here and right now. I know what the world's voice speaks to. I know, I listen to it all the time. BBC debating this morning in Baghdad, 79 people dead. This morning, I know the voice of the world. God always has better. Always. I'd like to close with just a brief story. When I was a young priest, I served in Golden down in near Denver. My rector asked me to do a retirement Eucharist at a retirement home in Denver. So Sunday afternoons, I'd leave church and I'd go conduct a Eucharist. It was a good way for me to get practice about how to be in front of you. About 6 months after I started, this beautiful elderly couple approached me after the service. He said, I'd like to tell you who I am. He was the retired Episcopal bishop out of Milwaukee. He served 37 years. He had written books. He had traveled the world. He was an accomplished scholar. He was an accomplished liturgist, meaning someone that knows how to conduct worship. He was one of the bright stars of the 20th century in the Episcopal Church. He said, I didn't want to tell you before, so I didn't want you to be nervous. I said, no, I'll just be nervous now. We got to be very close friends. He said, one day, would you like to come up to our home and have a drink? And I said, I'd love to. I walked into this man's home expecting to see the house of awards on the wall, all these books on bookshelves, all the trappings of a successful life. Do you know what I saw? One living room, one bedroom, pictures of family and grandchildren on the wall, a cross on a table, just one, 3 books by the chair, one of which was the Book of Common Prayer, from which we worship today. I walked into the living room. I must have had that look on my face. It was so simple. He had almost nothing. I looked around the room, and as I turned around, he was standing right behind me. He knew exactly what I was thinking. He said, yes, this is how you end. And I was about to ask him, and he said, without me speaking, no, I don't have all of that stuff. I looked at him again. He knew exactly what I was thinking. He said, Brooks, everything that I need is here. follow Jesus. Truly, it's not everything we need, really, in the Spirit, right here. In the name of God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.